Hey, this is Matt Cain with the San Francisco Giants, and you guys are listening to Torture Cast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants with hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, and Ben Lee.
Let's go Giants! Let's go Giants!
Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball history, the San Francisco Giants. This is Torture Cast.
Standing on top, not gonna stop. We came to play, ain't slowing down. We're here to stay, and we're stomping on whatever's in our way. I'm feeling like a giant tonight.
Welcome, everybody, to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. This is episode 71. My name is Willie Dills. It's playoff time. Of course, I'm joined by Chad King and Ben Lee. Chad, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, we get one extra game. Yay.
At least one extra game. At the very worst possible least, it's one extra game.
That's right.
And also joining us is Ben. What's up, Ben? How you doing, man?
I'm just deciding whether we should just temporarily rename the even year streak and be like, we've made the playoffs every even year, or if we should just keep running with the whole World Series thing until it's into the ground.
Oh no,
we're gonna go with the World Series thing until evidence proves otherwise.
yeah, until we win it or crash and burn. Either way.
Yeah.
Willie, you're notorious for ignoring the evidence when it's in front of you already, though. So I mean,
Look, in this situation, there's no evidence that we will not win the World Series.
Not yet.
None at all.
I'll grant you that one. Like mathematically, we are still a viable team.
Exactly. There is
Mathematically,
5 teams.
we are not the Texas Rangers.
Yes, one of 10 that are still.
Yeah, there are 5 teams from each division, and we are one of those 5 teams.
Only the most elite top third of the entire
only the top
league.
third. Yeah, we've pared down. We've gotten rid of 20 teams. Now we're at 10.
We've gotten rid of the 2/3 that are definitely not pulling their weight here.
Yeah,
some of which may have better records than we do.
Yeah, it could be the top
Maybe.
half, like the NBA or the NHL.
that'd be stupid. So this is the thing. We're in, and we're in the playoffs. We are the second wild card, meaning we do have to go play a game on the road. And that's pretty much going to be the focus of this show. So everyone who's a Giants fan is aware of where we are at now. The game is going to be on Wednesday.
So let's fill you in on what's been going on, since we know you've missed a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. Now everyone's in on what's happening. So we're going to analyze what's going to happen in that game. Pretty much right now, we can only concentrate on the Pirates. We can't start thinking about the next series because just got to win this game. That's pretty
because
much
there's no point. That's what a one and done will do to you.
Yeah,
That's right.
If anybody wants to do a tweet up for barfing purposes,
I'm actually kind of interested in talking to you guys about the situation that happened where the Giants' playoff position was secured with a couple of games to go. I personally feel like this is actually a really big advantage for the team.
Mm-hmm. I'll point out that I was actually at the clinching game.
Oh, were you?
Pretty great.
The game where we were already
the Brandon Belt
game started.
Right, exactly. The clinching game.
Right.
Sure.
Where you still got to watch them clinch on the field, even though you had actually watched a post-clinch team clinch on the.
Yeah.
It was pretty magical. I was like, man, I don't know how this game will end, but so help me, we're clinching.
Well, here's the thing about that game. It actually turned out to be an insane game because
that was a really
we went up
good
6-0, blew the lead, and then won the game 9-8. So they had a fun
very
time.
Giants of us. It was very Giants of them.
But now the next day, after that was all in place, we still had to figure out whether we were playing on the road or at home. Then very clearly we were not going to be able to play at home after that. And then the next day, Hunter Pence sat himself, which, I mean, this to me is like the...
Really Bam Bam sat Hunter Pence.
Well, Bruce Bochy talked to him about it. I mean, I heard about the thing. Like, they talked and he said, I'm going to sit
Pence
you.
pretty much said, it's winning the World Series is more important to me than maintaining a streak of starts.
Yeah, and he had the longest streak of
as
starts in the major leagues, the longest active streak. So that's a big deal to give that up.
In fairness, he did come in as a pinch hitter, so he does have a streak of games played. So that is still going.
But nobody, I mean, Cal Ripken started every game, correct? Didn't he? Or did he just play in every game? Because I thought he started whatever it was, 2,000 something games.
I don't remember.
I think it was just a played streak.
It was just a played streak? So he pinched in a few times?
John Miller was talking about it when he used to broadcast for the Orioles. He actually was there, started, I think, in 83 or 84 with the Orioles. And he was with the team for about 5 years before he realized that Cal Ripken had played in every single inning that John Miller had broadcasted up to that point.
Wow.
And he actually took one inning off. It was like the 9th inning. He was sat down for a defensive replacement. And that's when it came to fruition that, oh, my God, this guy's played literally every inning for 5 years.
Well, but at that time, we knew Lou Gehrig had a pretty long record. So, but I think really the point that I'm making by bringing him up is that, is there any reason to go after that? Is there any reason to really care about this? Like,
it depends on whether you think. Do you think that Pence has 15 more years in him at this point?
Probably. I mean, he's in probably the best shape of anybody in the major leagues. But
I'll grant you that one.
But is it worth it though? I don't know.
The most unusual and probably therefore ultimately maintainable style of play.
Sure.
Like, you're not doing anything weird. You're just, you are, but it's your weird and it's your standard weird. So you can just kind of keep doing that a little longer than somebody who's trying to be super careful with their mechanics and had to learn the proper way to understand.
If you're asking if I think he could, yes, I think he could. But does it matter? Does it matter ultimately?
Really. No, not so much. And for the record, it is a consecutive games played streak, not.
Okay, that's okay.
Still has that. It's fine.
Yeah. All right. So. The fact of the matter is it kind of points to what the Giants were able to do, which is set themselves up for this game, which is really nice to have. And yes, the Pirates got to do that too. We all knew what was going on.
Can I just?
Or actually, no, they didn't, did they? Did the Pirates actually? We could have still played the Cardinals at that point, right?
Yes, at that point, after we clinched the second spot, we knew we weren't going to be at home. Still could have had the Cardinals, and that's the exact reason why Clint Hurdle actually threw Cole on Sunday, because of that chance that they still had to win the Central. Of course, that was also predicated on the fact that the Cardinals were going to have to lose later in the day.
Yeah.
But I think that actually serves to the Giants' advantage, at least on paper.
Yeah, so if there's something that we can look to as an advantage in this one-game series, it is that we were able to not pitch Bumgarner, and they had to try to still win their division. So there's one thing going in our favor. It's that. And that's a pretty big thing, I think. We get our top guy, and they don't.
That's right.
So one-game playoff, top guy versus non-top guy. I think I take top guy every time.
Yeah.
So
it's not like Barry Zito could ever win a game.
No. I mean, he's like an auto lose, right? Yeah. So Chad, you went back and you looked at our predictions for the season, and I had completely forgotten what we had predicted, but pretty eye opening, huh? So what did we all predict back in March?
I had recalled that we were kind of all in the high 80s or low 90s, somewhere around there, somewhere around the 90 mark. But I looked it up, and you and Ben procrastinated. Just kidding. Prognosticated 89.
No, I probably did both. I definitely try not to make a prediction ahead of anybody else because I'm not good at them.
Yeah, you're delaying that. No,
well, you're good at this one.
Predict
89.
50. Wait, oh gosh, what sport is this?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
It's pretty good.
The three of us, 89.
I predict
89,
that we're
88.
going. I predict we're going 10-6. No, wait, wrong sport. Oh, geez.
And
man.
Jen Cosgriff and Chelena Goldman had predicted 90 each. So we were all within 2 games of one another, but
I liked how we were just like, look at these wildly differing guesses.
Yeah.
Absolutely, really, really wide.
I
so
did
somebody
go back.
nailed it, and
in 2012, though, we had that preseason podcast with Giants Pod, and I went with 93.
Oh,
and
my God.
I got shit for that from Thomas. Thomas was nailing me on that.
He was
podcast.
blown away.
Oh, I remember.
He was like, "There's no effing way!" And of course, what did they do? They won 94. So
yeah, exactly.
Series,
so Chad, you got a pretty good record going here right now.
Isn't too
You
bad.
nailed this one. Yeah.
right.
The 2 seasons we've actually predicted, I have a net difference of 1 so far.
I'd like us to actually do a video prediction next year so that I can literally just hold up a sign that says whatever Chad says.
That'll be pretty good.
That way I can just keep holding it up every time I have a prediction
we
to make.
should have won. There must have been one game we were supposed to win. And so I still think my prediction...
Any of the Colorado games.
No, the one, the walk-off replay.
Interesting. Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, Willie and I are right if you get mad.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We win on rage, Chad. We win on rage.
to the mistake of replay, exactly. Right. So the other fun things that happened around this clinching time is Hunter Pence is clearly everyone's favorite everything in the whole everything.
Hunter Pence is definitely my favorite chef.
Yeah, he's there's nothing that this, I don't know. Everything he does just makes me love Hunter Pence even more.
I'm just going to start saying thank you, Chef, every time he says something now. This is going to be great.
Right after the the clinching.
The clinch that wasn't that was.
Clinched, yes. But you still got to celebrate it, obviously, because you're a team that makes the playoffs. The Giants had their champagne celebration. A few notable events happened that night. Bumgarner chugged 2 beers at once in the background.
Yeah.
It's my coworker John actually says, well, I'm a Giants fan now. And I was like, why that? And he shows me the GIF of Hunter Pence flipping out and then points. And I go, oh, there's Madison Bumgarner shotgunning 2 beers at the same time.
He's a big old That's how
he calmly turns, throws one, and then throws the other.
Yeah. That's how you do it.
It's just like, my buddy's from San Diego and does not give a hoot about baseball, but lives up here and said, I'm a Giants fan now. I was like, I expect to see you in a Bumgarner jersey come next year.
So that was a fun moment, but the Hunter Pence speech, I've never once, and I've seen people give speeches after they've clinched things many times.
It was like Will Clark times 20.
Yeah, Will Clark came nowhere near. I mean,
nope.
Yeah, we had Tim Lincecum. We have Tim live on TV, yelling "fuck yeah." But this was, I mean, how does anybody know? Does anybody have a count? How many f-bombs were dropped?
Somebody must.
I tried at one point. I lost count at 18, and there was also a lot of shits thrown in there too. So
sure.
Does that count?
We dealt with a lot of fucking injuries and a lot of fucking shit. I mean, it was awesome.
We're going to the fucking World Series.
Yeah. It's gonna be.
You'll
good.
note that Pence did not, in fact, shotgun 2 beers on camera, and there he was.
We don't know. We just didn't.
I was going to say not on camera.
Yeah. No.
He may have shotgunned 4 at once,
Doesn't
holding 2 with his feet. I wouldn't be surprised at this point, it being Hunter Pence.
He does not need beers. All right, so Chad,
he just hovers them in front of his face.
You have another thing here that I'm confused about because I feel like you've got a point to make about this, but I don't get it. So you're gonna have to enlighten me on this.
Okay, so
did the second wild card spot save the Giants? Wait, what? Yes, of course it did. All right, tell me.
Okay, so today I was trolling a lot of the. I wasn't trolling. I was reading the trolls out there.
No, you're trolling right now. We read this suggestion here.
That's right. I was just trying to get the bait there. And a lot of people were saying that the only reason the Giants are in the playoffs are because of the second wild card spot. If we had the old wild card system, the Giants wouldn't even be in. Shut up, you Giants fan. It's the same old internet stuff.
Sure, absolutely.
And I was quick to point out on many of these chat boards, of course I had to respond.
Because Chad's like, oh, I can't let this I can't let this go.
Might I digress?
I must be right.
1 minute here. If you realize the Giants and the Pirates actually finished with the exact same record. And a lot of people are assuming that because the Pirates are getting home field advantage, they would have won the wild card. Or maybe they don't realize that they actually had the same number of wins. Either way, they're both mistaken. But because, of course, the head-to-head record was 4-2, that would not have applied in the old system.
No. Right.
Okay? You have a one-game playoff.
It's a home field advantage situation only, right?
One wild card system the way it was before.
The same exact thing would have happened.
Game 163.
The same exact thing would have happened, except exactly right. It would not have been counted as postseason stats. It would have counted as regular season
stats.
But regardless, it still would have come down to one game. So no, the Giants, in fact, were not saved by the second wild card.
Wow. That's wow.
That's an interesting point.
I had not even considered that because it's just not a thing anymore, But you
look at it
dealt with
like,
this
second
in '93.
I was there for the 3-way tie. I was really upset that the 3-way tie, in like 20. Was it 12 or 13 that there was almost a 3-way tie? I was really upset that didn't happen.
And remember the Giants.
I was actually rooting for Oakland and Seattle to tie just because I just wanted to see what kind of chaos would result from that.
That could have happened this year too in the American League, and it didn't happen, unfortunately.
Oh man, it almost did. But Sonny Gray pitched a heck of a game.
Yeah.
But man, I was really hoping for a tie. I'm not even going to lie about it.
Now, in the A's situation, they did finish a game behind the Royals, so they, in fact, were saved by the second wild card. Now, the Giants back in '98, if you recall, they tied with the Cubs for the wild card.
Yeah.
And so they had that game 163.
They did a game 763, right?
Now, what's funny about that is that home field advantage for the Cubs was not determined by head-to-head matchup or any other tiebreaker. You know what it was?
Coin flip?
It was a coin flip.
Wow. That's
Chicago won the
thing.
coin flip, and they had to go to Chicago, and of course, Mark Gardner lost that game. But just an interesting point to all you baseball fans out there who might be thinking that the Giants were saved by this new wild card system. They, in fact, were not. So
wow. So
basically, same thing, guys, but with less, maybe more TV. I don't know.
Technically, we qualify for the postseason instead of 163. Yeah, so
that's true. Yeah, it officially counts as a postseason, qualification for us. But whatever, it's good. It's a good point. It's valid because people who are trying to troll probably should pay a little more attention before they do so. All right, so let's talk about the matchup. We know what the matchup is now. So we're gonna have Bumgarner because we were able to kind of hold him back. It was an interesting, So we had the full ability to rest bullpen guys, rest position players. And also, it kind of gave us a little chance to do some things like start Gary Brown and see, hey, is this guy a weapon we should consider? So there's a lot of interesting things that happen when you get that chance to rest people. But the biggest thing is obviously the fact that we get to start Bumgarner in this game, and they're starting Buccos. So it doesn't mean that this is the guy we're just going to roll over. It's not like he's their fifth starter or anything like that. But he's a guy who's only got one postseason start, and we all know Bumgarner has pitched plenty of postseason games and a lot of big ones too, and done really, really well. So there's some stats here that Chad's compiled, and we got Bumgarner at 11-4 record, 2.22 ERA on the road. Buccos, of course, has a 3.04 this season, and really been good in his last 5 starts. But his only postseason start, 2010, 1.1 inning pitched and 4 earned runs. So not a good track record as far as postseason.
Yeah, and last year his ERA was actually hovering around 5 or 5.5 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I guess this year he had some good pitching instruction, and he was able to turn it around. And his ERA was actually decently high at the All-Star break, but since the All-Star break, he lost his first start after the break. He did not lose after that. So he's hot coming in. So like you said, Willie, it's not that we're going to roll over this guy. But I think most Giants fans would still rather face Buccos instead of Cole, because Cole is just one of those horse ace studs who can just absolutely dominate a game. And he's absolutely dominated the Giants before, while as Buccos has not dominated the Giants before in his career.
No, absolutely. So I was actually looking at some of his stats against some of the Giants, and there's a couple of interesting things that pop out here. So Brandon Belt, 8 for 18 against Buccos lifetime.
That's reassuring.
Yeah, that's pretty nice, right? So, and Brandon Belt back. So, and actually had a chance to get some at-bats and everything. Unfortunately, Michael Morse is not going to be able to play with the 750 batting average. It's only 3 for 4, so small sample size. One of the problems, though, and also Buster Posey 5 for 9 for 556. Pablo Sandoval 6 for 13, 462 average. Here's one of the problems, though. Hunter Pence, 194 average, and that's a lot of history. That's 7 for 36. Right. Good news is he's seen him a lot, and he has 3 home runs off of him. So there's still something there.
Basically,
and
baseball.
Yeah, sure. But Brandon Crawford, 3 for 20.
That's not great.
Yeah, but if Belt's back, and likely Crawford will bat in the 7 slot, with the 8 slot going to whatever AAA player we throw out into left field. So, it's that's going to be a problem. But at least we don't have Brandon Crawford maybe batting in the 2 holes.
Gary Dominguez, yeah, that should be great.
I mean, I feel like we're probably going to see. I'm going to make a prediction that we either see, Dominguez or Ishikawa, just because those are guys who.
Well, remember PNC
quite a liability.
Favors lefties a bit.
Sure.
The way that you've got the wide space to right field instead of left, just like at AT&T. I think you probably see Ishikawa there.
Yeah, and also he's a guy with a little more experience than both of these guys. Oh, clearly
he's got to bring with the Giants once.
That's right.
Sure.
He got that
Came
walk,
out there in his
guys.
jeans and everything. Yeah,
he got that walk.
Got that walk.
Yeah,
got that walk.
But so he's a guy with a little more experience, and I think he's likely. But we'll talk about who we think is on the bubble a little bit later and who might get brought in. But it's just interesting because I think you look at these numbers and you see some pretty solid possibility here for generating some offense against this guy, and that excites me. And I had looked up some of the numbers for Bumgarner, and Bumgarner's actually pitched really well against some of the heavy, the guys that might cause you problems on the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's done well against McCutchen historically, and that's obviously their best bat. So there's some good news. There's some good news here. Trying to get everybody excited. That's all.
Shit, it's one game, man. It's
exactly.
It's one of those things. You could have a start by Bumgarner where he allows 8 runs in the first inning, like against the Orioles a couple years ago, or he could just have an absolute gem 3-hitter. I mean, it's baseball. playoffs. You never know. I mean, Pittsburgh. A lot of people are banging on him, going, "Hey, the Giants have the postseason experience. They got Bumgarner on the mound, and he's a stud. He's been in the postseason several times. He knows what he's doing." But Pittsburgh won their wild card last year. They were in the NLDS. I mean, they kind of know what playoffs.
No, this is a good team. This is a team that's been near the top for a little while now.
They've been hot too. That's the thing. I mean, they won something like 15 out of their last 20 coming out of stretch. So, yeah, they're a good team, no doubt.
Absolutely, we should definitely be full attention when we're talking about this team. But
I should point out for anybody who tunes into this, you will already know by the time you get this one. But Wednesday, the Giants are actually going to be opening up AT&T to watch the wild card.
Oh, really? That's cool.
You can watch the wild card at the park. So, Willie, you're going to have to finish your Sloppy Joe early.
That's right. Oh, that's right.
That's true, actually. So
Sloppy Joe.
I am planning to go by Zeke's, and we're going to watch the game there. So my mom's going to come out and meet me, and that's what we're going to do it. So
nice.
we're pulling out all the stops here. This is
doing it
game.
old school.
It's this is an elimination game, right? And that's what we did in 2012. Is we did all the elimination games at Zeke. So we're sticking with it.
I should point out, it's really awkward. I'm not actually even going to be on the ground for part of the wild card game.
Oh no! Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm spontaneously day tripping to Seattle before I realized that would be the day the wild card game is. But since it's a day trip, I'm going to take advantage and spend most of the day drinking prior to actually the game starting because nerves. It's going to be great.
That'll work out.
It does mean that I am going to have to wear my Buster Posey jersey to Seattle, though, so that really is not. Don't
worry,
bad.
that'll go over great. I'm sure. You can wear your Lipscomb jersey though, and that would go over really, really well.
I'm sure that the Mariners are not even remotely bitter about. I don't want to talk about it.
They're fine. They're good. Don't worry. All they care about is the Seahawks.
I was going to say, just don't wear your Niner gear. Oh wait, you don't have Niner gear, do you?
I got a beanie somewhere here.
All right, so
I'm working on it.
We clearly don't need to add any starters. We pretty much all know what the 4-man rotation is going to be, right? So we're going to get Bumgarner, Vogelsong, Hudson, Peavy, and then Petit will probably move back into more of a long relief type of scenario. If anybody gets blown up, that's where he would belong. Obviously, we don't have to worry about this until we get past this one game.
Yeah.
So obviously, we don't have to worry about this until we get to Hudson.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Of course, we got to get there first. But you know what? One game to worry about first.
Yeah, I'd almost even want Petit to be in there right now over, because like the way that they've both been throwing, at least lately. So
yeah, well, that's what makes the wild card roster so interesting because it's not your standard playoff roster by series,
right?
Where you're used to throwing in your 4 starters or maybe even a
because
fifth.
it's its own roster, right? Prior to declaring the roster for the LDS,
it's its own series, so we can put in a bunch of bench. It's almost like September,
right?
Baseball.
So you look at it and you go, well, if Petit and Hudson have not looked so good, maybe we leave both of them off, but you leave Timmy in because he's bullpen, but you throw in a bunch of extra bats.
Well, you don't put PV, you don't put Hudson, you don't put Vogue in. So you got 3 slots right there, bang. And so who might get those slots? So let's talk about that. So
alrighty.
I think we probably have some of the same names in mind. Chad, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, bullpen. I think you got to go with Hunter Strickland. I know again, it's a small sample size, but the guy's been so dominant. I mean, he has been lights out. No,
Bochy has already said just like, we're just trying to rest Casilla, Romo, and Strickland. Strickland's already a late inning guy for these guys. He established that spot. I mean, he has been absolutely dominant and in a way that this bullpen has not had in a while.
Yeah. And as far as the bench and the infield and outfield, I'm pretty certain that Matt Duffy will be on there, probably Chris Dominguez for a late inning, pinch hitting power or something like that. And I think it's possible because I read earlier that they weren't sure about Michael Morse. Has that been updated? Is he for sure not going to be available?
I don't know his exact status right now, but my understanding was it was not looking very good.
Yeah, and I wouldn't presume that it does look good if he's been out for so many weeks. Why would he come back for just this one game?
And this would be awkward to try to come in.
It would be really awkward. He's kind of out of sync and everything like that. It's probably just better if they leave him off the roster. And if they do that, I think that they add Gary Brown to the roster only for late inning pinch running purposes. And
pinch running and defense.
Yeah, defense in the outfield.
I mean, he covers, when you're talking about you don't have Pagan as your center fielder, and Pagan's not the best center fielder in baseball by a lot. Right. But Brown could potentially be up there as defensively skilled and the speed to cover a lot of ground and all that. So he makes a lot of sense to have on a roster where Yeah, and I even think when you do get down to 25 in the pitchers, there's an argument to be made for him because that's a spot that's gonna come into play at some point. You need one run and a guy gets a walk, and that guy is Pablo Sandoval. If I can pinch run this guy, then maybe that walk turns into a double all of a sudden, and then maybe we just need a single to win the game. And that's a big deal. So having a guy that can do that is a weapon. And obviously he's really inexperienced, and it's a little scary to do this. But if there's not somebody else who must have this spot, when you're looking at the rest of the guys and you're saying, well, he's not that much worse than Perez, or it just seems to make sense to me. I mean, the guy has wheels.
Can we just stop for a second? Because first of all, we were all hoping the Giants were going to make the postseason this year, being an even year. Mm-hmm. Who would have thought that we'd be talking about Matt Duffy, Gary Brown, Hunter Strickland, Chris Dominguez, Adam Duvall, and these likes potentially being on a postseason roster, let alone the regular season roster?
Not at all. I mean,
I'm only going to disagree with you on Strickland.
And I've even passed over.
I'm gonna disagree with you on Strickland and everything else. Yeah, where did these guys come from?
Well, yeah, Strickland was kind of targeted. It's true, but still, for a postseason roster, I still wouldn't have presumed that. No way.
This is still a roster, though, that you put Santiago Casilla on the mound, and the people that have watched him dominate in the postseason for 2 of the years we've been in go, who?
Yeah, well,
and you're like, yeah, look at our shutout closer that you have no idea who he is because he doesn't have a beard and looks like Wayne Brady.
That's right.
But no, it is true.
Never let him live that
injuries came at basically the worst possible time. I mean, It was, Morris went down with a month to go or something like that. And then you got Pagan goes back down again with a couple weeks to go, and he's gone for the rest of the season.
And they're just out. Yep.
When they happen early on, like Matt Cain, you get a chance to respond with Jake Peavy.
And to figure out what you're going to do.
Yeah. Well, and you respond with Jake Peavy, and it's like as if Matt Cain never left. That slot is fine. In fact, he's been one of the best pitchers we've had down the stretch. We don't have time to respond to Angel Pagan. We don't have time to respond to Michael Morris. We have no time. And Brandon Belt was a big problem all season, but we always thought he was about to be back. So we don't need to pick somebody up here. And then weirdness happened. So it's just been one of those seasons where you just make do with what you have. And I've heard some of the KNBR hosts railing on Sabian as if this is all his fault, that he just didn't, replace the right guys. But I got to say, who were we supposed to get, and how much were we supposed to pay?
And who were we supposed to replace when? Like the guys that we thought would be coming back at any given moment now?
Yeah, exactly.
We need to really go out and do a transaction to replace Brandon Belt, who will be theoretically back within like a month and a half.
Well, and also we're not looking to replace Pagan, and then he just suddenly goes down. We're not looking to replace Morse, and then he suddenly goes. It's just.
Well, and Morse went down once we were in the waiver part of the season.
Yeah,
borderline.
I can't even understand why you would ever pin that on Sabian. Like Sabian doesn't control injury situations. It's just, to me, it's like ridiculous. Like, and I heard some of these
really awkward.
Guys
we hit the end of this year and we get Greshner fired. I'm like, nope, stop it, stop.
I respect a lot of these hosts, and they have really good points. But I've heard people like blaming Sabian because Dominguez. It was like Dominguez, Arias, and whatever were your 6, 7, 8 guys or whatever. And it's like, dude, who was he supposed to put in? Yeah. Who exactly? You can't just yank all-star quality players off of the waiver wire. That doesn't work that way.
I've heard the same thing. People railing on him because Pagan's never played a full season. Michael Morse has had like 1 full season. Why are you getting these guys that are always injured? Well, Michael Morse has had incredible chemistry with Bochy and the Giants. Pagan, of course, we know what the record is for the team when he's in and versus when he's out, and what he did for them in 2012. It's not always on paper. I think that's the thing. The Giants have always been called a band of misfits, doing more with less. They have that chemistry, that team bond, that those intangible qualities that you just don't translate to statistics.
Yeah, joie de vivre, man. That's what they got.
I mean, 88 wins in the postseason with a roster that went through tremendous amount of injuries this year. I mean, in 2011, of course, we lost Buster Posey.
Yeah, that's like irreplaceable. Yeah.
Ironically, the Giants actually only finished 2 games worse than they were this year. They had 86 wins in 2011. But obviously that loss was huge with Buster Posey. And last year was last year.
Last year was Pagan, and Pagan turned out to be even worse to lose, I mean.
That's right. I think the only argument I would say has I think has a little bit of credence, especially with Monday morning quarterback, is the fact that they might have been able to get Nelson Cruz. I'm not saying that was a guarantee, but he's earning $10.5 million from the Orioles right now. And obviously Michael Morris is $6 million. So it's $4.5 million if they had to offer 11 or 12, whatever. The Giants could have afforded him. He has been healthy all year. He hit 40 bombs, hit 274, whatever it is this year. Not saying that he would have hit 40 home runs in AT&T Park, but all things being equal, I think he would have probably ended up around the 30 mark, probably still 270.
Well, and if you played
the Giants
the entire season healthy, then that's all that really matters.
Well, that's what I mean about everything being the same, right? Because he was healthy for the Orioles, and Michael Morris does have a track record of not being healthy all the time. So I think that's one of the only
which actually really wasn't too bad this year for the most part, all things considered, but not at a good time.
I think he still played 120 games this year, which actually
he played. He had 131 games.
131 there, it's even more than that. So that's
he had a 475 slugging average. It's like by the end of the season, it looks fine. It
No, it looks
actually, quite frankly, it looks very good.
Absolutely.
For $6 million, it looks great. But I mean,
Way
for
better
the
than
timing,
when the
is
left
the part that
field
sucks.
Starters combined for 4 home runs.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that you could say that, but again, hindsight 2020, obviously, and at the time, you're looking at the other guys you have to pay a bunch of money to, and you think we need a guy for 1 year. Are we going to spend $10 million on that guy, or are we going to spend $6 million and get a guy who's fairly equal in a lot of ways? I mean, the two players aren't 100% different. And also, we also watched Cruz, swing.
We've seen too much about Cruz. We've seen too much of Cruz. It's like, oh man,
blah blah blah.
Yeah, exactly, all that stuff. So I don't know. I'm never going to put this one on Sabian. This is just injuries happen, man. Injuries happen to everybody, and we just have had a worse time of it than. And oftentimes it ultimately, the team that stays healthiest is the one that wins the whole thing, right?
Yep.
The team that doesn't have to.
That was 2010 for us. That was the whole reason that we made it. It was we just did not have a lot of major injuries.
Yeah.
No, we didn't have a bunch of major ones, and we actually had like our second baseman at the end of the season and all that stuff. So, yeah, it was a different time then.
No, I really do think if Belt and Kane and Pagan were healthy for an entire season, I think they would have probably handled the Dodgers because they finished 6 games behind. They would have made up a few games in the standings just versus other teams, and they probably would have snatched 1 or 2 of those games away from.
We would have won against them.
That's exactly. And each one is a 2-game swing. So if you just won 2 more games against the Dodgers, that's 4-game swing right there. You make 2 or 3 more up in the rest of the season, like the 3 against Colorado.
Yeah.
And so I mean, the margin is 6, but I think a healthy year they probably could have won the West, but they still made the postseason. So this is what we have to deal with.
So I'm gonna agree with all of the statements and all the guys you made. I'm gonna put Cordier out there as a potential guy just because it's another flamethrower that you could throw in there.
Sure.
And he's they've been talking about in the last few games when he's come in, the other team sits up, pays attention all of a sudden because he's kind of a beast and he's done pretty well too.
And he's a little wild.
He's a little wild, and that's very true. But we're not gonna ask him
a little bit
much. So
in fairness, though. He's got a 2.63 FIP. I think he looks pretty good, and his stats just on paper, like some of his more sabermetric stats. 7 games,
it's 6 innings pitched, but it's low ERA.
You kind of go with like I have nothing else to go on here, but I mean he's got a 4.5 strikeout to walk ratio. Like the wildness isn't that bad because he's so devastating when he amps up the speed.
Yeah, it's 9 strikeouts in 6 innings. I mean, you're talking about strikeout and a half an inning. That's
the 4th highest strikeout to walk ratio on the team behind Romo, Bumgarner, and Petit.
Romo just doesn't walk people because he just gives up home runs or strikes them out.
Petit actually has the highest strikeout to walk ratio on the team, 6 strikeouts per walk.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
he's got a lot of control. But the thing is who doesn't go from the bullpen if you do put that guy in, and the only guys who you could really point to are like Gutierrez and Contos and stuff. But I don't know. I feel like you want to take some experience into your bullpen, This is one game. We don't necessarily need the deepest of bullpens, but I'd rather have a deeper bullpen than a deeper bench. Because if you need to go into the bullpen, that's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Contos in 24 games is pitching at 278. I mean, it's for a reliever, it's not brilliant, but it's been absolutely serviceable or better. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like, once you
This
clean
guy
some
comes
things
in
up,
for his fire. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's
Yep.
just, he's
I will
dead.
grant you that. Courtier, yeah. I mean, Courtier pretty much walks in and throws 101. Like, all right, well then. Just another day at the office, guys.
So, Ben, you similar in names? Do you have any names we haven't mentioned yet?
Close. I'm actually going to make a little tweak here.
Definitely Duffy, though. We can all agree Duffy's going to be
I
our
think
first hit.
Duffy has had a really nice pinch hit role, partly because he doesn't try to do too much. He goes in and says, this is my job. This is what I need to do. And somehow just keeps doing it, which is pretty awesome. But also, he'll drop a bunt if he needs to. He'll try to beat out an infield hit if he can. He's had some pretty decent bat control when he needs it. And I mean, I don't think anybody sees Duffy as a starter on a team that has its pieces intact. But as a pinch hitter off of the bench, he's actually had a lot of utility for this team.
Yeah.
I'm iffy on Dominguez. I think we're more likely to see Adam Duvall. Although, in fairness, that part of the reason I say that is because Brandon Belt has a sore groin, and it is, it's not out of the question that if we do either end up, that at some point he might get pulled out of the game if he does end up starting it, or that Duvall might end up starting it and Belt switch in later. Having the additional player that's had a lot of experience for us this year at first base is definitely something you might see. So I think that we're more likely to see Duvall because I do think that we see Perez and Brown both as potential pinch runners. Probably Ishikawa in left, I'm thinking. And I'm thinking, Strickland has to be in. And Courtier, or, I think outside fringe, Chris Heston. Didn't look too bad after the first inning, and that was his first major league start the other day. So, and I mean, stats-wise, he's done okay. I can't really say stats-wise. He's been like one game.
Yeah, it's too small.
Yeah, it's too small. They didn't get a lot of chances to see him, but I feel like, if anybody's on the fringe, like if it isn't Courtier for some reason, which it probably is, since honestly he's seen the most time out of most of the guys who have come in for the season. But yeah, I mean, if anybody else is going to be on the bubble, I would say maybe Chris Heston.
Okay. All right, let's talk about the keys to beating Pittsburgh. I'll go ahead and just start us off.
How to defeat Pirates.
Yes, how to defeat the Pirates. So, this is we're just taking our stab at the little stupid thing that comes up at the beginning of every game. We're
that's right.
Here's what you got to do. You got to actually hit the ball.
You must score more runs than your opponent.
Yeah. So I'm going to go
innings.
with Bumgarner getting help from the defense. I think we can't have one of those sloppy games because we've had a lot of games where the pitching has been fantastic, and then randomly Crawford boots 3 balls or something like that, and that is kind of
doesn't do it again for like 5 games, and then boots like 4.
Well, we also had the game we went to, the 17-0 game where Pagan actually
everybody
gave
booted
up
like 7 balls.
Well, the inning would have been over if Pagan had played correctly in that inning, and maybe that game is complete. Maybe that's a game that we actually contest, but instead it all falls apart immediately, and it's just one of those things. So the defense has to be there. The 3, 4, 5 guys need to bring it. We've had some games where they've been brilliant, and some games where it's just they all disappear at the same time, and that cannot happen this time. We need to rely on our MVPs, our Pences, our Posies, our Pandas, and they need to come through. And I want to see Posey behind the dish. I want to see Brandon Belt playing first base if he can go. Because I think Belt has a good record against Volquez, and obviously Posey I think is our best catcher. So I think that's our best lineup if we can get that situation going.
Yeah.
All right, Chad, what you got?
All right, so as I mentioned earlier, we all know Pagan's impact on the Giants' record, and he's out for the playoffs, and certainly out for this game. So Blanco's got to set the tempo and set the table early. He's got to get on base a couple of times in this game and set it up for, like what you said, the 3, 4, 5 guys.
Yeah. And they can't do anything with nobody on base. So.
Exactly, and I think they need to do it early. I think the crowd in Pittsburgh is going to be raucous. They're going to have a blackout. They're going to do everything they can to get into the Giants' minds. Now, we know that that's not going to happen, but it would still take the wind out of their sails if the Giants could put up a crooked number in the first couple of innings.
Yeah, it'll change the whole thing.
Yeah, you want to quiet a stadium down. No, but hey.
But that would really be a great thing. And I think it would let Bum just absolutely get into his groove and coast.
Just cruise, yeah.
Number 2, kind of what you were saying, fundamentals will maximize opportunities, minimize mistakes. I like the small ball that the Giants have been playing lately, with a lot of the hit and runs and the sacrifice bunts and the safety squeezes, especially by, Duffy and company. So I think those are the little things that are going to come down if it's a close game to making the difference. And of course, minimize the mistakes, just like you said. You just cannot give the Pirates an extra chance or two because they will capitalize on it, especially with the home crowd and this one game scenario. Yeah, you can't boot a couple of balls and lose by 1 run because of a couple of
It's not
runs.
even just that, too. It's things like hitting cutoff men, backing up plays correctly. All of those things have to happen.
Yeah, throwing home, throwing through the cutoff man, exactly. Trying to take the extra base, all of those things. And then number 3, Bochy, for some reason in the playoffs, at least the last 2 times, has just always pulled the strings at the right time. He just, part of it's luck, part of it is a feeling, part of it is skill. Whatever it is, Bochy has always put in the right guy at the right time. And I think that if this is a game that is a little rough in the beginning, if Bum can only go 5 or 6, and it's a very tight game, you're going to see Bochy pull out all the stops. Not that Hurdle won't, but he'll know exactly when to do it. And you might see 7 or 8 pitchers in this game if Bum gets knocked out early.
No, I think Bochy wins the manager versus manager battle.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a huge advantage.
It's Clint Hurdle. Yes, I think he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hurdle's experience in the big leagues as a manager has been quite different than Bochy's. He has not had to manage things in the same way. So
no.
Was he the manager when they did that weird 5 innings only or whatever thing in
Colorado? I don't think so because that was last year.
I don't think he was either. Yeah, it was only a few years ago, I think so.
Yeah, it was only a year or 2 ago. Hurdle's been out for a bit.
Yeah, he hasn't been there for a little while. I couldn't remember when that was, but that was ridiculous.
Yep.
They basically took the decision making out of the hands of the manager and said, no, every single one's going to go for 5 innings and they come out no matter what.
Wasn't that Tracy that did it?
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Aren't they doing were they the ones that did at the minor leagues, the tandem starter thing? I thought it was an interesting idea, and it wasn't one I entirely was sure I liked, but.
Tandem starters?
Yep. You have 2 starters, and they go 4-man rotation, but it's really an 8-man rotation because you have one guy who's going to be the starter and then one guy who will be backing him up no matter what.
No matter what, he's going to come in. He knows it. That's weird.
Next one into the, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Interesting idea.
I hope that kind of stuff doesn't actually come to fruition in the big leagues.
I don't think it ever will.
I don't think it can because of the way that the money works, to be totally honest.
No. I mean, we're in the era of the setup men, the specialty lefty, and the closer.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
You don't drop the money that we did on Javier Lopez
where
without
you have guys throwing 300 innings. That's gone.
Yeah.
But I don't think the game's going to change that much in the next 20 years in terms of that kind of specialization.
Reliever usage.
Yeah, you're not going to see a dramatic shift.
No, I don't think so either. All right, Ben, what are your 3 keys?
All right, so I'm actually going to go with, for starters, I'm looking from the enemy's perspective, so to speak. I'm thinking that you can't lose focus after McCutchen and Harrison because McCutchen's dangerous, Harrison's dangerous, but there are a lot of guys all over this lineup that have the potential to just make you look real bad. Pedro Alvarez has not been great this year, but he can run into one, and when he does, it will go a long way. Neil Walker is actually pretty dangerous. Ike Davis, on and off, one of those guys that, depending on your what's going on, and obviously Russell Martin. Basically, we hate Russell Martin anyway, so I mean that can't be good. Starling Marte has been pretty much on fire a lot of this year as well. There's a lot of guys up and down that lineup that are dangerous. Everybody all the way down to on the bench, you've got Gabby Sanchez, you've got Chris Stewart has hit 294 in 49 games for them. Like what? And Clint Barma is just sort of he's hit 245. He's barely had a ton of appearances for them, but there's just something about him that he just decides to make us look bad when we play him sometimes. So it's this whole you can't count most of these guys out either because it's a trap, which is pretty much what I think of. Hey, look, Clint Barma is batting. You're like, oh well, it's Clint Barma's, and then all of a sudden there's a single over your head and a bloop and a dink and a. But you can't just go. Well, we're really worried about this part of the lineup. You got to worry about the whole lineup. Number 2, you got to keep the ground attack alive if you need to. PNC is a decently sized park. It's not huge. It's not AT&T, but it does have a decently sized right field and right center. You can take advantage of that if you're able to get the ball down there. You just the fact that the Giants haven't hit a ton of home runs and still do things 9 to 8 games eventually, but 9 to 8 games. They have been hitting some. There is some power there, absolutely, but they've also had a ground attack going where they'll get some guys over. Joe Panic has been a huge part of that. Absolutely, Matt Duffy when he's been in has been a little part of that as well because they're not guys that hit for power, but they're guys that hit, or at least especially Panic. So I mean, you got to keep that ground attack alive. You got to be able to move some guys over and nudge them around and not expect that a homer is going to come in and save you. And number 3, you got to play smarter as much as you're going to play harder. You can't make stupid mistakes, and you can't boot balls, and you can't run really terrible routes in the outfield. You got to play your best level of defense, not just your hardest level of effort.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely, all good points. And I think it's the Giants. We know they're going to bring the effort. Now it's just, are they going to actually do things correctly is the question. So, all right, let's talk about our Giants MVPs on the season. Chad, you're going with the pitcher, huh? You're going with the pitcher for MVP. That's weird.
I knew someone.
No one goes for pitcher for MVP.
Isn't that funny? I know. I was thinking about that when I wrote that down. I was like, well, I definitely don't agree with a pitcher being the MVP of the league.
Sure.
But how about the team? Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Guys like Pence and Posey are obviously very worthy picks, but Bumgarner really had an excellent year. 18 wins. His ERA was under 3. His whip was excellent. I just think that, if he goes down, if he has a mediocre year, the Giants don't make the playoffs without him this year. So
no, absolutely not. You're right. Yeah,
and here he
very
is,
much the same way. If you took Kershaw off the Dodgers, I don't think are even close. They don't even taste it.
Yeah, dude wins 21 games. Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. But it's 21-4 or something like that.
Yeah, only 27 or 28 starts. Recall that he missed 6 weeks.
Yeah, he missed a while. I know.
Weeks. It was
and still got the 20. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. But Bumgarner is that for us, for our team. The only reason that he could have had 21, 22 wins.
That,
we lost a few games that we were supposed to win when he pitched great. So,
True.
he could have easily had a better record than that. And
he could have.
You have a 2.9 ERA, and things could have been different. So I think that's a very solid pick, and also 3 home runs as a pitcher? That's pretty sweet.
4
and 2
4?
Yeah, 2 grand slams.
2 of them grand slams.
Yeah. Pretty sweet stuff.
I would venture that if Bumgarner doesn't pull off the Silver Slugger this year, I'm not sure what exactly, who.
No, there's no possible way. A pitcher who got 2 grand slams doesn't get it. I'm going to go with Hunter Pence, though. I mean, I think Hunter Pence is. He's produced the most runs. I'll say that. So when you look at runs scored plus RBIs, he's up there. He's got that. So. It just in stats in general that led the team in at bats, hits, triples, runs, second in doubles, home runs, RBIs, and walks. The guy was just a beast all year. Never, didn't miss a game because of any other reason than they were resting him, and he probably didn't even need the rest. I don't know. I'm sure maybe it benefited. He got to relax his mind or something. But if we'd have put him in, I don't think that would have affected him going to the playoffs. It was just one of those things. Just to be sure, we're going to do this. And not only that, but I think if we win everything. A lot of that probably has to do with him getting the guys absolutely pumped up and ready to play some baseball. So he just kind of does all the things you need someone to do. He does it. So Pence is my guy this year.
Good pick.
Ben?
I'm actually, I'm going to lean a little similar to where you're at. I'm actually going to go with Buster Posey. He hit 311. He had 22 home runs. Really, there have been a lot of times where if it wasn't Pence carrying the offense, it was Posey carrying the offense. And when he was on, he was absolutely devastating for this team. He has the most hits, about 170 of anyone on the team that wasn't basically born on another planet. Just to say, only Hunter Pence has hit more hits than Posey this year. He's been a major leader figure on the team, especially during the time of a lot of turmoil. We had a lot of newer guys come in, and a lot of them have talked about how we're getting into the point now where you've got guys coming up to the majors that actually look at Posey and see him as a major role model and figure as someone who's gone before, and that's weird for us. Yeah. I'm sure it's weird for me,
still
but
looks like he's 12 too. So.
Absolutely, still looks like he's 12 even when he tries to grow facial hair, which I mostly just mean neck beard. But it really just Posey is very much if Pence is the heart of the team, Posey is the soul of the team. I mean, the two of them this year have been kind of a huge part of what gives the team its identity. And Posey has been a huge part of what really makes this team for 5-6 years now. And so for him to be performing as consistently as he has and be able to watch the team get into the postseason again, I feel like that's, that consistency and that center and that fact that you've got the same guys that are coming back year to year really is a huge part of what has got this team back into the postseason.
Yeah, he had a Buster Posey season this year, and
he had a Buster Posey season, very much so.
Last year, he went from being the MVP to having a little bit of an off year, not much. In
an off year for Posey is something that a lot of guys would still, like
a lot of guys would be very happy with it. Absolutely, but no, he's fully back and batting .311. All the things. He's leading the team in all the things in a non-offensive ballpark.
Well, I think a lot of people were concerned because he only hit 240. Something like that in the second half last year with only 4 home runs.
Yeah, that maybe he can't be a catcher. And
this year in the first half, he was only hitting like 265, a little bit better, but everybody's like, he's just kind of like an average, barely above average catcher right now. But he turned it into that fifth gear for the second half.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable, just like Pablo, who's hitting 180 after 2 months, that he raised his average, and he actually finished fourth in the National League.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty
Third,
insane
if you don't count Colorado Rockies, because they should just be eliminated.
They should be eliminated from that. You're right.
Should never have an average ever.
Never.
I'm going to give an honorable mention, though, to Pablo Sandoval because he played 157 games this year. Mm-hmm. And he started off about as ice cold as a man can start. And still found a way to finish with 16 homers, 73 RBIs, and a .279 batting average. So he had a good year. It's not, it's not the breakout year that maybe some people were hoping for a guy in his contract season. But as far as Giants fans go, a guy who missed time in a lot of seasons so far, and actually was not even on the roster for some stuff in 2010 or whatever, and not even a part of the team. He's been a solid guy in the middle of our lineup for 157 games, almost 600 at bats, big time stuff, and what we needed from him this year. So good job, Pablo. He needs a little love sometimes, He gets so much.
It's hard to say.
Much people just criticize the man.
It's so easy to say, "Good job, Pablo," except the last month, and it's just like, no, like you've been around, you've done okay, just do something like you've done the last couple postseasons, or like the last postseason, just surprise us.
Any postseason game, and
I'll take an RBI double. I'll take an RBI double.
Sure,
those get Pablo fired up. So I mean,
he's had a lot of big hits for us this season. So really,
got to get the panda rolling. That's not a joke. I didn't mean that.
So if we're gonna pick one guy on the Pirates who we should hate, which really means that we're scared of, who should it be? Let's start with you this time, Ben.
All right. I'm going to go with kind of the under-the-radar pick. I'm actually going to, because I have a feeling you guys are going to pick the ones I would have picked otherwise. I'm going with Neil Walker. Because Neil Walker his stats aren't as gaudy by a long shot. I mean, Walker has hit 271 this year, but he has hit 23 home runs. I mean, that is the second most on the team behind McCutchen. He's dangerous if he runs into one, and 271 is not an average to sneeze at. He flies under the radar a bit because McCutchen, Marte, Harrison all are way gaudier as far as how they're playing. But Walker is one of those guys who, when it gets turned on, he will just destroy you. You'll just look up, and all of a sudden you're like, how is Neil Walker breaking up no-hitters and like going 5 for 5 in a game when he's been kind of off for the last couple of days? And he's sort of an intermittent Ian Kinsler. It's kind of like,
I can see that. A little inconsistent, but
I'm going to turn it on right now.
He's a big league hitter, man. The guy's had.
He absolutely is. Walker has a track record of some success. Yeah. Definitely, Walker is the kind of guy you absolutely want if you're trying to, if you're going, the second baseman isn't going to be the star of the team, but he is absolutely going to move the team along. That's Neil Walker. He's not Pedroia. He's not Kinsler.
More home runs than Buster Posey, so
by like one.
That's something. Yeah.
By one, but that's enough.
Still something. That's one more.
I mean, Walker's good, and he's one of those guys who's going to surprise you if you make a mistake to him, or just don't pay attention to the fact that he's hitting right there in that middle of that Pirates lineup.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good pick. That's a good sleeper pick. I'm going to pick the non-sleeper pick, the most obvious of all the picks, Andrew McCutchen. He's just a guy who he's just scary when he's at the plate because it's like you feel like, I don't know if Ben. Chad, when you guys play baseball, there's always like that guy who you just thought, I'm just never going to get this guy out. We'll never get this guy out.
Yeah.
This guy will always get on base, and sometimes he's going to, just crank one out. That's what McCutchen feels like to me. Every time he's up.
McCutchen's just
if we get him out, it's amazing. Yeah.
He's a double waiting to happen every time.
Every single time. And the good news for us, though, is he's only 2 for 10 lifetime against Bumgarner, so that bodes well.
True,
and,
but if there's a time for McCutchen to turn it on, this is a Pirates team that's now in the postseason for the second year in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be a very hungry, very amped up Pirates team, and either we're going to be able to take advantage of that, and they're going to do what we do when we get geeked up and start booting the ball, or we're going to just watch them just completely blow up, and it's going to be one of those things that you just kind of. You go in there going. I don't
want to hate the Pirates, because the Pirates were just never a team I gave a crap about. And now, if we lose to them, I'm going to have to hate them, and that just sucks, man. I don't want to do that.
I don't want to hate the Pirates. I liked the Pirates up until why? Who had to make this happen this way?
Yeah, what the hell, dude?
Really though, Pirates, why couldn't you have made us face St. Louis?
Give us the Cardinals. I'm
perfectly happy trying to beat the Cardinals in one.
Yeah.
I actually would have felt better about that game.
Exactly. All right, Chad. How about you?
All right, so real quick, you brought up Neil Walker, and I had no idea his connection to Roberto Clemente. Do you guys know that story?
No, I do not.
So I was watching a ESPN documentary a couple of nights ago, and it was about Roberto Clemente, and it was highlighting his career, and of course he died tragically in that plane crash on that humanitarian mission down to Central America. Well, he played with Tom Walker, who was Neil's father, or is Neil's father. And they were best friends, basically, on the Pirates. And Neil grew up an avid Pirates fan as well. But Neil had not been born yet. And Tom was going to join Roberto on that humanitarian mission. And he actually was to the airport with him. And Roberto said, no. This is my thing. It's New Year's Eve. Go be home with your family. I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to make sure these supplies are delivered. Because Roberto Clemente was delivering supplies through his mission. And I guess the corrupt government down there in Central America, I forget which country is Ecuador or Nicaragua or something. I forget them. They were basically stealing his supplies. So that's why he wanted to accompany this plane this time to make sure that they would actually arrive and go to the people they were supposed to go to. So to this day, I guess Tom Walker credits that act as saving not only his life, but his family's life. And therefore, Neil Walker was born, became a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, and now is hit 24 home runs or 23 home runs this year, which actually set a record for a Pittsburgh second baseman. It eclipsed Bill Mazeroski's record of 20.
That's a big name in Pittsburgh, too.
So that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Well, good on him.
Yeah. All right, so I am going with Josh Harrison because he's had a breakout year, and he has hit the Giants pretty well this year. 6 for 18 with 3 bombs, though, including one off of Bumgarner at AT&T Park.
Ooh, okay, that's scary.
It's pretty impressive year after the whole hitting 250 and 233 the last two.
Yeah, he just really had a bust out year, and he I think is the Pirates
and 3 home runs.
He's right
each of those
behind
seasons.
McCutchen as far as most valuable hitter on the team. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's definitely someone they have to keep an eye on. But if they can neutralize both McCutchen and Harrison, and hopefully Neil Walker, he's like you said, ain't no shab. 23 home runs this year. And this
the tough thing,
Jeff Kent numbers,
Right. The tough thing about Harrison, though, is he makes them a flexible lineup because Harrison's played utility for them all year. He's been in at least 4 different roles, maybe 5. He's dabbled in shortstop, but third, left, right, second. It's just you can move him around,
right?
And that's dangerous when you have a hitter that you can fit into a lot of different places in the lineup who's also hitting really well. Harrison has started to scare me this year in a way that McCutchen has. I mean, McCutchen scares me on name alone at this point, just the way that Posey pretty much makes the Dodgers boo just by having his name announced. But Harrison is one of those guys who, how there's those guys that during the year scare you, where they're just having that ridiculous year and they're absolutely going off. And it's like the 1 year you're terrified of Michael Kadire. Yeah, I'm terrified of Josh Harrison, and I don't think I would have been last year. And I think that if you rolled around to next year, I'd lingeringly go, yeah, he kind of worries me. But this year, having watched him, not excited for his at bats.
Yeah. All right, let's predict the outcome of this ball game. I'm just going to go first because mine's ridiculous, but I'm being the eternal optimist here. And
All right.
I'm gonna go with a 2-0 Giants victory, and Bumgarner's gonna throw a complete game 2-hitter.
Ooh.
Bam! Bumgarner is going to bring it. We know the man is capable of this. We've seen it. We've watched it. He's one of those guys. He can always do it. So he's going to do it at the moment that it's most needed, and that's going to be
So what you're
Wednesday.
saying is if the Giants are up 2-0 going to the bottom of the ninth in Pittsburgh,
Yep.
and Bum's given up, let's just say he's already given up the 2 hits.
Yeah, he will have at that point. Yeah.
That
We keep him in.
is going with Bum.
Here's why we keep him in, because when you are dealing, and Bumgarner has proven that his arm doesn't really need the same care that most people's do.
Sure.
He can throw a lot of pitches.
Yeah, he can go
But he's going to be dealing, and it's going to be one of those situations where he goes out and he starts the ninth, and if he gives up a single hit or walk, he comes out.
Yeah.
And he's just not going to do that. He's going to go 1, 2, 3 in the ninth inning. That's what's going to happen.
I like that call.
Yeah.
Phrased that way, it makes more sense. I agree.
Yeah, he'll have 100 pitches or so going into that inning.
Right.
Yeah,
All
right around there.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, they wouldn't let him lose it.
No, definitely not.
Let him
yeah.
flex
One
it.
guy gets on and he
One
comes
runner,
out. Yeah,
boom, he's out.
But you'll have probably something like Affeldt and Casillo warming up or something. So you have a lefty and a righty. Yeah.
Right.
All right, Ben. What about you?
I cannot see us holding this Pirates lineup back like that. But that's why we have you go first, because it makes us feel better.
Well, yeah, I'm just going first because of course mine is the most ridiculous.
No, we always have to throw out Willie as the reflexive optimist, because honestly, everybody goes, "That's what I want to happen."
This is what I want.
Right?
Can I just have what I
you know
want
what?
sometimes?
Predictions are such a
10-0 win. I don't want a 2-0 win. I want
what you have to stop doing at some point is stop making predictions thinking that it's gonna you go into the prediction, you say we're gonna go 162 and nothing, because that's what I just want to happen. I'm just gonna go with whatever it is I want to happen, because I'm not gonna be right unless I'm Chad.
I'm just doing it realistically.
If I'm Chad, I might be right apparently, but otherwise I'm not gonna be right. So it's right. Okay.
I'm not gonna say 10-0. I'm gonna say 2-0. You know.
I mean, I think it's going to be a 1-run game. I think it's going to end up being ridiculously close, but I don't think we'll be able to hold the Pirates back. I think it'll be 3-2, and I think it's going to happen in extra innings.
All right.
I think this is going to be one of those long, really difficult ones. Super exciting, and we'll be really glad we have an extended ability to use bullpen and pinch hitters, because I think that's going to come in incredibly handy in the wild card.
I absolutely can see that. All right, good call. If we win in extra innings, it's going to be tough though, because you got to win and then you got to hold.
You got to win and you got to hold, but we have a bullpen that's proven that it has the ability to do that.
That's absolutely true. We've had ridiculous bullpen games where they've gone 7 hitless innings collectively and stuff like that.
Right.
So definitely can see that. Chad, what about you? What are you thinking?
Now, I didn't think any of the three of us were actually going to choose the Pirates, and
why would we do that?
Why would we do that?
Again, the predictions are what you want to happen.
You don't tune into our show because you want us to be completely objective. Come on.
So I definitely think it's going to be 5-2 Pirates.
I think you can classify all three of us as the oxymoron objective homers.
Yeah.
I don't.
Realistic homers.
I don't.
We root for our team, but we understand.
Jumbo shrimp. Yes. Yeah. No, I do think the Giants are going to pull it out, and it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be a 4-3 game. I think Bum's going to be good, but I don't think he's going to be as on as you think he's going to be.
Okay.
But I think he's gonna leave it in the bullpen's hands. I think it's going to be a close game. It might be a tie game or up by 1 or down by 1 at that point when he leaves. But I think the Giants are going to pull it out, probably late, scoring in the 7th or 8th, and pull out the 4-3 nail biter with Casillo on the mound with 2 runners on and 1 out in the 9th, and it'll be one of those son of a bitch.
Oh God, yeah, it hurt my brain.
I think I actually just got a stomach cramp listening to your description there.
Just describing the situation.
I just
yeah. All right. Well, I mean, this is the torture cast, and I will be glued to the set no matter what the outcome is. But all right, let's predict why we will win it all, because that's how we end our show, and it makes us feel good.
That's right.
All right, Chad, what you got?
All right. So the playoffs are a reality. And so I believe this is just the beginning of the confirmation of the even year fact, and the fact that the Giants have won 6 elimination games in a row in the postseason.
It's true. We don't lose elimination games.
That's right. This will be number 7. We actually have a 7-game winning streak in the postseason as well. That's still current. So this would extend that to number 8. So I do think that this could be the beginning of another magical run. And, I got to tell you, 2010 and 2012 were just those incredible years that we're never going to forget as Giants fans, even if the Giants never win another World Series. But here we are at the precipice of another journey of a Hunter Pence triple-double, of Scudero in the rain, of Aubrey Huff's thong. It just all these little magical anecdotes, images, and clips and stories that have come to fruition over those 2 magical runs. I honestly can't wait if the Giants can actually win this game and proceed in the postseason. What is lies in store?
Absolutely.
I just love it. I just love being a fan of the Giants and the fact that we're not a fan of the Rockies or another team that just are perennial losers or the Cubs or someone else that just you don't have these magical moments to look forward to. And even if the Giants don't make it, the fact that we're in the postseason, we have a chance, that's enough. And hopefully they make it all the way. It feels good.
Yeah, don't forget, how about freezing the Triple Crown winner from that season with a third strike fastball? Oh, that moment. All right. Ben, what do you got for us? Why are we going to win it all?
So I was thinking about the whole Cal Ripken thing earlier, and I was just thinking that if Hunter Pence really wants to take after Cal Ripken, what he needs to do is buy 3 minor league teams. Because I just feel like a minor league team that was run by Hunter Pence would just be really interesting.
It would be awesome.
Anyway.
Yes.
It's the Albuquerque yeses. So I'm going to go with it's actually the rookie contributions that I think are going to do it, much in the way that Posey in 2010 turned out to deliver in a big way. I think that it's going to be Joe Panik. I think it's going to be Joe Panik with some help from Andrew Susac, a couple of pinch hit appearances by Matt Duffy, and depending on how the rosters shake out, maybe an appearance in a pinch hit space by Gary Brown or a last minute by Adam Duvall. I think it's going to be some unexpected and just right contributions from the younger guys that are really going to take us through here, because even if the other guys are producing, you've got to have it up and down the lineup. And I think it's going to be not the guys who have been there before I think it's going to be some of the newer ones that are going to end up being the reason we finally push through.
Okay, I like it. I'm on a little bit of a similar vein. I'm going to say that we've got a fine starting 4. It's fine. It's not the best. It's not the worst. But we're looking at one of the aces in major leagues, which is Bumgarner.
Absolutely.
PV, who's having like an absolute renaissance right now, and then Hudson, who's got a ton of postseason experience, obviously. And I don't think he's going to. Maybe he struggled down the stretch there, but I don't think he's going to struggle in that way come postseason time. And then Vogelsong, who we know is about as intense as a person can be when it's time to pitch. So I'm okay with that starting 4. We have a really solid 3-4-5 when you talk about Buster Posey, Hunter Pence, and Pablo Sandoval. And you can put them up against a lot of 3-4-5s in Major League Baseball, and they measure up. They go toe for toe with those guys. So I think really what's going to be the key here is that one guy who comes out of nowhere, your Cody Ross, who just, what? This guy won us the series? It's going to be that. And we don't know who that guy's going to be yet. Could be a Gregor Blanco. It could be somebody like a Brown comes in and suddenly gets some crazy pinch.
Could be a Brandon Crawford. I mean, Crawford's been pretty hot in September.
Yeah. It could be Brandon Belt suddenly showing up. It could be Travis Ishikawa. It could be Susac, who just has like 2 really great games out of nowhere and just does everything for us. We're going to get that guy, and that's going to be the guy. And we're going to look back, and he's going to become a new San Francisco legend, much in the same way guys like Scudero and Cody Ross are now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what's going to do it for us, and we are going to win it all. Giants, it's postseason time. Everybody needs to bring it. I know everyone's going to. I will be at Zeke's. I'll be getting my sloppy Joe. It's on. We're not cutting any corners here, guys. And Giants win this one game, and that means we move on and we play a full series of 5. And then then it's legit. Then it's real. And now we'll have another chance to talk to you guys before it's all over. So I hope that happens. I hope we'll be back next week talking about more postseason baseball. So I want to thank everybody for listening to episode 71 of the TortureCast, podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Episode 71, man, that's a lot of episodes. That's pretty cool. Thank you guys for being a part of all that. That's kind of crazy. That's wow. And we're not even as regular as we should be. And we got to 70.
And that's a lot of
pretty
episodes in there too. So.
Oh, and there's a lot of bonus episodes. Yeah, so it's even more episodes than that. Of course, my name is Willie Dills. We got Chad King and Ben Lee. You can follow all of us collectively at TortureCast on Twitter. Each one of us individually at ChadK21, at Fried Duck, and at Willie Dills. Also, check us out on Facebook, and also check out the blog, torturecast.com. You can find us on Stitcher if that's where you like to get your podcast, or iTunes, or you can just download it and stream it straight from the page. Whatever you like to do, you can do it. Everyone tweet at us during these playoffs. The Twitter sphere is always a lot of fun during these Giants postseason runs. Hopefully we got a long one in store for us. What do we got to win, 12? 12 games?
Instead of 11, yes.
Got to win 12. Yep. All right, we can do it, boys. We can do it. All right, we'll see everybody next time for episode 72 of the TortureCast. Boom.
What the hell is that?
I couldn't help myself.
Yeah. It's a good sound, man.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.